Well, hello and welcome everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to another Full Sail University online class. My name is Steve Kane, and once again, I am here with the Audio Workstations class on this beautiful week 2, lecture 2. It is Tuesday, August the 12th here, handful of minutes after 1 o'clock. And in case you were wondering, yes, it is still hot outside. I got in the truck yesterday and it said 122 degrees Fahrenheit. I was like, what? Holy summertime, Batman. So anyway, hey, we got a great show for you today as we get into our remix project. I got to tighten down this mic stand, it looks like, here. And we've got a fun little afternoon as we lay down our drums. We're going to get some neat little recording done, learn some teaching tunnel stuff, some signal flow with Pro Tools, and have a wonderful afternoon. So, hey, let's do this thing real quick. We've got Barbara, Charity, Chris, Clarence, Donica, Greg, Hannah, Jesus, Jezreel, Jordan, Josh, Keenan, Leonard, Laquise, Molly, Rashad, Rio, Robert, Raymond, Sean, Steve, Sydney, Tyrone, and Zach. Buckle up those seatbelts. Keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. And let's get this party started. Oh, well, as soon as this trumpet player runs out of breath. Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. It's so good to have you here with us on this hot and melty day. So as I said, we're doing our remix today, and what a fun day this is. I always love recording and writing because I love this little songwriting studio. I love writing songs. So today what you're going to do, remember, you're going to jump into your class resources, books, and archives, and that's where you will see the remix project guidelines, and you will get this PDF that will pop up right here. Now, as I explained last week, this is open the whole month, so you're going to skip over week 2 unless you're going to tweak something out. I know a couple of my students needed to play around with Identify Beat and get their click track a little tighter. But today we're going to jump in, now that we got the click track going on, we're going to jump in and start tracking our rhythm instruments. Now, remember, this goes hand in hand with the week 2, or as my French friends say, week 2. The remix milestone. And remember, for that, you're going to take a bunch of screenshots of what we're doing today, pop them on a PDF, and send them over to me in that PDF-er. But I'm not going to go over that with you today. We did that last week. I think you know what's going on. I gave everybody, I know I graded those assignments as well. So just make sure you stick in the titles. A couple of you forgot those, and we'll be fine. So any questions before we get started, you can give me an NQ in the chat room. If you've got no questions, you can give me a thumbs up on your camera. If you're good, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Tyrone. Hey, Sue, Sean. Let's see. Looks like Clarence is going to my webpage and checking it out there. It's like, all right, cool. All right, I'm seeing everybody now. Let's go over to the second page. Awesome. All right. I think what it's doing is putting everybody that's got their cameras on up front. So we're good. All right. So, well, let's do this thing. So let's launch Pro Tools. Now, I know I've already asked you this and everybody already told me, but I just make it a habit. I launch Pro Tools, I hold down the letter N, because for some reason, it seems like it always defaults to the Pro Tools aggregate, and ain't nobody got time for that. Actually, let's talk about that. The Pro Tools aggregate, the word aggregate means to like blend many of them together. And let's say me and Tyrone and Clarence and Sean all showed up and we all had our interfaces together, right? That way we could hook them all up if we had a big hub. And then with the Pro Tools aggregate, we could utilize all of them together. Does that make sense? So I've had to do that on a bigger project before. All right, so I'm going to use my Zoom audio device, and I'm going to have terrible latency through this, so much so that it's going to be a little bit awkward on the music. So remember, we kept that buffer size low. Let's just open from disk. We're going to go over to our section 1, Take Me to Paradise. with the palm trees the same. All right, we got markers and then arranging we probably did after that. All right, so let's open this up. Pow. And we got it going. All right, so this is what we ended with, how I arranged it. We had our click track rocking. So that's what we did, right? So now what we're going to do today, let me just go over to the PDF and just clear up some confusion if there was any. So the big things that we're doing today, we're not going to use any of the original stems, right? We're going to take those out. Take them out. We're going to mute them. We're going to write our own drums today. And then next week, we're going to write our own instruments. So, and this is why we went ahead and put the chord chart in there first. So, before we chopped it up. So what we're going to do today is basically track our main drums, which is like a kick, a snare, and a hat, or whatever drum set carries that main rhythm that you can listen to and say, yep, that's the rhythm. That's what's making your head bob, right? And then the secondary rhythm is what I kind of think of your, little salt and pepper and your little special sauces and little things like that, things that really spice it up. Not necessarily that are played throughout the entire song, just kind of like a little here and there, a couple bars here, a couple bars there, okay? And that's where, if you want to, you can use one of your Logic loops or one of your Apple loops or something like that. It doesn't have to be an exact kick and snare and hat. You just have to label it as like main rhythm kick or, main rhythm kick instrument. Let's say you used a Tatanka, big Japanese drum or something like that. You could label it, or instead of a shaker, maybe you used a finger snap or something. You could label it finger snap dash secondary rhythm, and you'll see what I mean here. But so we're just basically going to utilize this. We're going to go through, we're going to jump down our teaching tunnel first and talk about MIDI tracks and aux tracks and instrument tracks and knock all that kind of stuff out. And then as you look on, and what I encourage you to do, if you got any questions about your milestone, look at that briefly sometime today through the lecture and see if you've got any questions about your milestones. Let's see, I better bring my chat window back up here to where I can see okay, good. All right, so yeah, well, let's get started then. So we've got our instruments up, and the other thing, that I wanted to mention about the main thing, and I'm going to mention this again next week, is we only want you to use the plugins that we've given you, because I know you've got some cool plugins, but unfortunately, I've only got the ones that they distribute for the Audio Workstations class. So I need you to use those plugins like that Air Creative collection and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So, well, let's get through. I do have some good news and bad news for you. I think they did find, the good news is they found a cure for the COVID virus. Coronavirus, yeah. The bad news is it's Chuck Norris's tears, and he's never cried. So, you know what I'm saying? Because how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could Chuck Norris? So let's see. So we're going to take our drum sub. We're going to take our alto sax. I'm holding down Command to select these. We're going to leave our background vocals. We're going to leave our vocals here. So with all those selected, I'm going to hit, I'm going to right click. I'm going to hide them and make them inactive. Watch this. Now it doesn't make that sound. That was me. Charity, that was not a good joke at all. Those jokes stink. All right. So now what we've got basically is just vocals and background vocals. So it's kind of like, all right, so we got 1, 2, ready, go. Whoa, 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 whoa. And those are on the off beats, right? And so maybe we want to maybe just track those by ourselves. So what we're going to do, I think, is get from this N1 to N2. So let's go N1 and check this out. If I hold down Shift, see right here, it goes anywhere you want, right? So if I hold down Shift and click N2, see how it makes that selection for me? Actually, I want a little bit more than that. I want 4 bars. So now it made this 4-bar selection for me. Let's zoom in and out, right? And notice that it made it up here, right? So now let's learn a little bit, all right? Now before we make some music, I gotta tell you a little bit of history. All right, so check it out. In the 1900s, in the 1980s or so, right? It was in the 80s. You had MIDI sequencers on computers come out, right? And then those MIDI devices, you had the outputs of the keyboards and you plugged them into these sound systems, mixers and such, right? Well, then what happened is in the 90s, you started having MIDI sequencers and digital audio workstations, right? So you had programs with audio tracks like Pro Tools and like Nuendo. And then you had MIDI like Logic and Performer or Cubase, right? Well, then in the 2000s, everybody started saying, wait a minute, processing is fast enough. Let's have audio tracks on our programs. And the audio program said, yeah, cool. Let's have MIDI tracks on ours. And now all programs had MIDI and audio, right? But because of the way it started and had to grow up, things started off as MIDI tracks and audio track or an aux track separately, right? So when you look under new tracks, you've got audio tracks, you've got aux tracks, you've got MIDI tracks, and you've got instrument tracks. You've got more than that, but this is what I want to talk about today. So we kind of got to learn a little bit about each, learn the history, because if you want to be outstanding in your field, you're going to have to be a scarecrow. And I'm going to make you a scarecrow. So we got to learn a little bit about this history to really understand what's going on. So let's first add a MIDI track. Now, does everybody understand that MIDI and audio are 2 separate beasts? You can give me a thumbs up, right? You can give me like a thumbs up in the chat or say AG for like all good. All right, good, good. And now check it out. And then if I needed to add an aux track, because remember, if I've got MIDI and now I need audio, so I'm going to hit this little plus button right here, and I'm going to add one aux track because aux stands for auxiliary. Auxiliary means extra, right? And just like in the olden days, we would have an extra plugin and we would bring the keyboards like this, the audio out of the keyboards into our computer as well, right? But now we've got plugins. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the plugin on here. So let's just learn a little bit. Now, everybody needs to understand this next part. What I'm going to be doing here is not what you need to do with your project, but you need to understand it so you understand signal flow. All right. So there is a program in your Mac OS called Audio MIDI Setup. And if you look at your applications and you look at your utilities, it's called the Audio MIDI Setup. And it's so oftenly used, I put it in my dock down here. And so I'm just going to launch it. Now, so here's what happens. Back in the early 2000s, when OS 10 started coming around, you had somebody in the board meeting that says, hey, wait a minute, you got these musician folks and they've got MIDI instruments and now they need to hear them. So they're bringing the audio in and we're getting these audio cards. And so we need some sort of application that will set up our MIDI and audio. And somebody raised their hand and says, how about we call it the Audio MIDI Setup? And somebody else says, holy cow, that's a fantastic name. And so this company that's known for its great creativity made this app called the Audio MIDI Setup because it set up your audio and MIDI. All right, so it gets even better, folks. They made two main windows, the audio window and the MIDI window. In the audio MIDI setup. So what do you think? It shows you how your audio devices and your MIDI devices are connected, right? So you can look very quickly on your audio devices and see if your interface is there. If it's not there, whoopsie, maybe the cable isn't plugged in, or whoopsie, maybe your cable's bad, right? The same thing over here, right? I've got my UMX 610 right here. If I disconnect it, bam, it goes away, right? If I reconnect it, it shows back up. It knows exactly what's connected. That's the cool thing about USB, right? And FireWire and Thunderbolt and all that fun stuff, all those smart, intelligent connections. So check it out, yo. Let's pretend for a second while we learn, okay? All right, so I've got the UMX 610, right? And so if I look under my input column, I have my UMX 610 because it's connected, right? And it says all channels or any one channels, right? And then on the output, I've got the UMX 610 because that's what's connected, right? So let's play for a second, all right? So let's go over and see this keyboard right here? All right, first off, wait a minute. There's the UMX 610, all right? So here's a whole different keyboard, all right? This is the Korg CX5, all right? So I'm gonna add something, and we're gonna pretend that I would need to add this into my device real quick. So I add in this, and I double click, and I say it's my Korg CX5. All right. And I hit apply. And so now it knows what it is. All right. Everybody cool with me so far? But I got a problem. I look on my back of that. There's no USB port on the back of that. There's only MIDI. Come on, camera, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. Can you? All right. Only have MIDI, right? Coming off that, no USB. So what I do, if you look on the back of this, I've got a MIDI port, right? So check it out. On the back of this, I say, if I wanted to play this, right? And the reason that I want to play this, because I've got keys down here, right? Let me pull this down a little bit. I've got keys down here. I've got keys up here. But what I don't have up here, I've got some organ sliders, got some drawbars, you know, little things like that, because it's a organ, right? So what I want to play that one, right? So I hook my MIDI cable out of the CX5 into the back here. I go boom, boom. Everybody cool with me? So I went out to in. Everybody cool? And now look what happens. It says, hey, wait a minute. What happened there? Holy moly. Did y'all get scared like when we're kids and the lights go out in the classroom and the teacher's like, and everyone's like, what? Holy cow, I just got this thing of like my whole window shut down. And it's like, wait a minute, your internet connection is unstable. I was like, no doubt. You're telling me. Wow. Yeah, all right. Sydney, give me some of that juice. I think I might need it here. All right. So check it out. All right. So we're all back. Let's make sure I'm still on the Zoom audio device. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Somebody didn't like that. Whoa. Oh, organ slides is the last we heard. All right. So let's get this thing on here. Oh, look. All right. So what might happen is I might need to go back to my Cisco. Yeah, it kicked me off VPN. So it'll happen in a second. All right. So what I was saying is that sometimes there might be something like this. Oh, you know what? I could even change it. Let's even say this. Let's say no. Let's not even go there. Let's say this was my V drums in the back. See my V drums back there? All right. So let's say that's the thing. And I go pop them up. All right. So now I've got Roland. And the V drums is the TD10. Okay. So now I got this up because I'm going to go play the drum. So I've got to go out, right? I got to go out. Oh, you're not seeing my screen. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. There we go. It's amazing what happens when technology starts working together. All right. So can everybody see my screen now? So I've changed my keyboard and I changed it to be the Roland TD10. And now I wired that up out of the TD10 into my UMX. Now let's go load up Pro Tools. I'm going to hold down the N key. I'm really glad that you see some of these problems because if you've ever wondered, why don't they want us to do the iLock on the internet or cloud-based? That's why, because sometimes you get crazy internet things going on. And it would kick you off. All right, so let's open up. And I did not do a save as yet, so that's probably my fault there. Let's see, when's the last time I did hit save? All right, so let's just do a save as. I could go open up a backup. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let me show you if I was in a real session, what you would do. If this was happening, you would tell, especially if you did like me and you didn't save all the time. See, I could have been saving after I added that track and that kind of stuff, and none of this would be here. I have a lot of things I got to redo. All right. So if that was the case, check this out. The way I've got this set up, let me show you this. Preference, operation, I've got it auto saving to give me the 10 most recent backups every 5 minutes, right? So what I can do is I'll go open and I'll look at my file backups and look at this, all right? So this was today at 2:53. No, that was last time at 2:53. Today at 117, 122, 127. All right, 127. So we're going to open that one. All right. And then here, watch the first thing I do, because it's a backup file, right? Recovered, right? But at least I've got my MIDI and my aux track. Now we're going to do our save as. And we're going to go right back to our normal naming conventions, right? So we've got Take Me, and we're now in day 2, and we are doing main drums. Okay, so now that I've hooked up and I said that my MIDI setup, I've got my TD10, look at what happens here. I see the TD10 on my input, but I don't see it on the output because its input is not connected. So there's no way I could send information out to this. Does that make sense? All right. So now let's say this. Now I've recorded the information. So it was sending out. And now I'm going to say I've only got one MIDI chord. So now I've got to hook it up the other way because now I want to hear the sounds out of there. So I go out from my MIDI out to my MIDI in. Now that is being like a slave device, right? Because it's receiving information. And now check it out. Now I don't see it under my input, but I only see it under my output. Does that make sense? Right? And then now I save up my money. I go buy another MIDI cable and I'm able to hook them both up. Remember, we call that a handshake. And now I see it under both columns. Cool. So the moral of the story is the audio MIDI setup will govern what you're able to see in your inputs and outputs in your audio programs like Pro Tools or Logic. Thumbs up if that makes sense. So that is a huge troubleshooting tool, right? When things aren't working, you look in audio MIDI setup and make sure that it's working. All right, so now what's really happening, like I said, this has to be real. It's not like you can say, I wish I had that, right? So it's not connected right now, so I didn't even connect it. And so now you see that I don't even have the TD10 at all. I only have my UMX, okay? All right, so now check this out. So now, like we said, it's the 2000s. I'm going to hold down Option and I'll click right here to make that disappear. So when I'm ready to put a plug in, I have to do it on an aux track. And what I'll do is I'll put an instrument, and let's do the expand for right now. Actually, we'll do let's see what we have for electric pianos. All right. So what I do then is, now that I've got a plug-in, notice that my plugins weren't on my output originally, but now that I've put a plug-in on, I can say on this output, go to the aux track to the expand 2 plugin and on channel 1, right? So watch this. So on the output, I go to the aux 1 track, expand 2 plugin on channel 1. And now, as long as I record arm it, right? And I get sound. But look, the channels have to line up. The MIDI rules still apply. See how I'm all on channel 1? Look, if I go over here and try to send it to channel 2. Doesn't work, right? So the MIDI laws still work, and it works both directions. Check this out. So look at this. Right now I've got all. That means anything that I go touch and play will go to this output, right? So that means that this keyboard will go. It means that my V drums would go. I've got a MIDI sax over here, and the MIDI sax would go, right? So that's all well as long as I'm alone, right? But as soon as I have somebody come over here and jam with me, because I want to get my buddy Terry playing drums, I'm going to play guitar. Maybe I've got my son playing bass directly, and then I've got somebody else playing a MIDI sax. Then I need to get specific, and I say, hey, on my UMX 10, go trigger that expand. Or, look at this, that was on all channels. Channel 2 doesn't work because the expand is on channel 1. So I could send it channel 1, or I could say, you know what, I don't even want to think about the channels, so accept any channel from the UMX. Or if I'm alone, I could say, you know what, I don't even want to worry about an input. So any MIDI signal you see, come in like a big funnel. So that's all right if I'm at home playing with myself. But if I've got friends coming over, I've got to tell it exactly what instrument I want to go where. All right. So if you've if you're playing with other people, you have to designate your input. If you're just playing with yourself, you can leave it on all. So how many people think you're going to be having more people over, or you're just going to be playing with yourself? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But does that make sense? If nobody else is there, it funnels it, right? So if you're alone, you got it through, right? That's always a fun joke right there. All right, let's pause for the cause. Let's get any questions. Give me a thumbs up if you've got no questions. Give me an NQ in the chat window if you've got no questions, and then you can hey, wait a second. Let me get my chat window up here. Da-da-da. All right. I got a bunch of NQs. All right, cool. How do you get this cool shirt? This is my behind the scenes. I got this a long time ago. All right. Good. Thanks, Barb. Thank Keenan, everybody, Jordan, everybody. Love the interaction. All right. So now we have MIDI signal flow established, right? So now check this out. Let me add one more track. And we're going to call this one is an instrument track, a stereo instrument track. Let's go ahead and name it. We'll call it drums MIDI. All right, so now check this out. Here's the way I like to teach this. All right. Everybody put up 3 fingers if you agree that 1 + 2 = 3. All right, cool. All right. Everybody put up 3 fingers if you agree that peanut butter plus jelly equals peanut butter and jelly. All right, so now check this out. Make this leap with me. A MIDI track plus an aux track equals an instrument track. Put up 3 fingers if that makes sense. Because what happened, I told you in history a little while ago, they used to be separate. In about 2006 or so, all the companies are like, well, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have a separate MIDI track and a separate aux track. Isn't there a way to make one track that does them both? And so they made this instrument track. And what happens now is if you go view the instrument column, look at that. I've got MIDI signal flow from the MIDI track side of things. I've got inserts and sends, so I could put a plug-in right here, like my piano. And look what happens. As soon as it loads up, it automatically changes my routing. Right? And then, just like the aux track said it was going out my main 1 and 2, look. Out my main 1 and 2. So this is all I really have to do is an instrument track. Let's see. Let's do, oh, here's a good one. MIDI tracks when added with aux tracks, they make instrument tracks and make you smile. Clarence, you didn't smile. All right. So let's just take 2 more seconds. History made us use a separate MIDI track and a separate aux track. And I needed to teach you that because this is the introduction of Pro Tools. But realistically, I'm going to make those inactive. I'm only going to really utilize instrument tracks, really. Okay? So everybody realized that was a big teaching tunnel for history, right? So now what we're going to do, let's go change the plugin, and we're going to make these some drum sounds. All right, here's my secret to drums. Unfortunately, I don't have a drum kit here. Unfortunately, you don't either. So fortunately, we both have to use our fingers, right? I found it much easier to do the kick and the snare at the same time, one on each, like boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop. Okay. And I recommend you do that too. And so what we're going to do, you can free flow it, right? You got your click track, you can rewind it and just go into record. All right. And so actually let's look at that. So we have our click track down here, right? If you double, you can, turn it on and turn it off. And if you double click, you get into your click and your count off options. So I want it to click anytime, right? And then if you had like an out thing MIDI, you could have it click somewhere else, but just let the plugin do it. And then maybe you only want it to click when you are recording, only count off when I hit record, not when I hit play, because I'm too impatient. So I set up all my click stuff there, right? So you can turn your count off on, you can turn your click track on. So I'll have my click track on. I've got 2-bar count off. And so I could either start from the beginning and just let it go, or I could make a selection, right? And I could either make the selection dragging. I'd probably want to use grid mode since we have our click track, right? Or what I did earlier is I said, you know what? We've got these cool little markers now, and I can select like this. So I'll make a 4-bar selection just like this. Now, it's important right now. Something weird happened, man. I'm telling you, loop record doesn't work real cool. And loop playback is going to mess us up right now. So I'm going to right click and turn off loop playback. And by the way, any of those can be under the options menu, loop record, loop playback, right? So because it's how the software is operating, right? You got options about how the software. And then my rule of thumb is just try right clicking on something, right? A lot of times you can right click and get the same thing done. All right, so I've got these 4 bars selected. Now, a lot of people say, Steve, and I say, what? Because I mean, like, what else am I supposed to say, right? And they say, how do I don't know what to play. And I say, I remember when I was at the Monterey Jazz Festival. I played in the Monterey Jazz Festival when I was 15. And it came time for me to play a solo, and I absolutely stunk. And my dad says, you're never going to be able to play a solo. And I said, thanks. And he says, no, that's not what I mean. You're never going to be able to play a solo until you're able to sing a solo. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, sing what you want to play first. So here's what I recommend to you. Play it first and sing it to yourself. Or whatever you want, right? If you want to start with the lyrics, if that's easier for you, start with the lyrics, if that helps you out. And do 4 bars over here. Like
paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air, we got everybody take me to. With the boats we always ripping. Steady saying how we got to keep a monster. Take me to.
Does everybody understand what I'm talking about now? Sing it first. And now you're just singing kick and snare. So what we're going to do is we're going to go find a drum sound, right? So we got our drum sounds loaded up, right? And I got my record button. So I just, all right, here it is. So I'm doing a kick in my left hand, snare in my right hand, just one finger each. And I'm going to hit the record button and then the play button. Notice I got my count off. So I got 2 bars, and I'm going to sing to myself.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air, we got everybody take me to. With the boats we always ripping. Steady saying how we got to keep a monster. Take me to.
Okay, now let's see what happens.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air, we got everybody take me to. With the boats we always ripping. Steady saying.
All right, now I don't know about you, but I think this is a little bit off. I'm going to double click on this, and this is going to bring up my MIDI editor. And notice that if I turn on my grid, I can zoom in and I can see that my notes are a little bit off of my grid, right? So what MIDI editing tool function can I use to fix my rhythm? Quantizzle, that's right, Quantizzle. That's Snoop Dogg's favorite MIDI fixing tool. Faux shizzle, Quantizzle. Matter of fact, you know what his favorite part of the steak is, right? The grizzle. Favorite weather for Snoop Dogg? Drizzle. Clarence, you know how he keeps his t-shirt so white? Oh, Leonard too, you got a white t-shirt on? He uses bleach. Ah, man. All right, y'all. So I can quantize this, right? So what we got to do, I'm going to zoom out and I'm just going to take my grabber tool, right? And check it out. I can just select everything like that, right? Because you got to select it to affect it, right? And it helps to do your hands like that. Select it to affect it, right? And then all of my MIDI stuff is up here in event, right? Event operations, Quantizzle right here. And then note on, preserve the duration, 16th notes. And we don't need to fool with this stuff right now. I hit apply. And now, and by the way, this button, it's like a fake out button. It doesn't look like it does anything, but look, it moved it right there. Now look.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air, we got everybody singing. Take me to. With the boats we always ripping. Steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Take me to.
All right, so it sounds good, right? So what can I do so I don't have to go back? Because now I want to rewind it and I want to add my hi-hats. Right? So check it out. Check it out. What I can do is I've got input quantize as well. Look at this whole list. This whole list is what's under here. Right? So once you get one window up, you can just keep that window up and go into any of those. So I've got input quantize and I'll just say, hey, turn it on. And then it'll automatically quantize it. So this will be great for my hi-hats. So watch this. So interesting little thing. Let's do a little bit more of a learning tunnel. I'm going to take, I need a new mono audio track. We'll call it teaching tunnel. All right. So now check it out. If I have both of these, look at what happens right now. If I go into record, let's turn our all group off. So we go into record, get this, and let's go into record and see what happens. I'm going to turn off the count off so it quits after this time.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air, we got everybody singing. Take me to. With the boats we always ripping. Steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Take me to.
Interesting. All right, so notice that I got it overrode. Actually, then let's undo this. All right, so here we go. And that was a weird thing happening. Let's turn this back to no input, so it's just a flat line. I don't want any kind of weird feedback here.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying.
So notice,
got you in the air,
even though we're in non-destructive mode,
with the boats we
it's
always
destroying
steady saying how we got to
drums
keep our
01.
minds take me to.
Look at that. It destroyed drums 01. Right? And so now, because I have to have an input. Okay. So let's go here. I'll just get it a bus for an input. All right. So now check it out. So it's drums 01. Look what happens. It's going to stay drums 01.
Got you in the air. We got everybody singing. Take me to. With the
and then I'm going to have audio 1. But now check this out. Here's where it gets weird. Because normally this is non-destructive. Look, options, we're not in destructive mode, but it's being destructive on my MIDI track. But look,
Paradise with the
it's going to give me audio 2.
Got you in the air.
The
We
teaching
got
tunnel is going to
everybody
go to
take me
number 2.
to.
But the MIDI
With the
is
boats
going to
we
stay
always
on
ripping.
1.
Steady saying how we got to keep our minds take me to.
See? So even though it's non-destructive, MIDI is still kind of destructive.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying. Got you in the air. We got everybody.
Look, this one's going to go to 3 now. This one's going to stay on 1.
We always ripping. Steady saying how we got to keep our minds take me to.
All right, now. So now check it out. I'm going to go one more time. I'm going to turn the count off. on, and I'm going to put my drums back on there.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Me too.
All right. So, and look what happens. It went to 4. If I tried to record over that, it went to drums 2 this time, but now it would record over drums 2 and destroy it.
Paradise with
See?
the palm trees are swaying.
And I don't want that. I'm going to undo that. So what I'm going to do now, in order to make my MIDI non-destructive, let's just make that active. I'm going to turn on this button called MIDI merge. All right. And so now when I get this from, we got verse 1 to verse 2. Oh, look, it put my drums way over there. All right. So now let's get verse 1 to verse 2.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air.
All right. So verse 1 to verse 3. Here we go. So now let's just start over here. Verse 1 to verse 3. All right. And here we go. Finally.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Me too.
All right. And so now I'm going to open this up in the drum editor just because I did a little flub. I know I accidentally hit another note. This one right here. And let's just see if it works.
Take me to paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Take me too.
Okay, cool. So that looks good. So let's hit save. And now we're going to go add our hi-hats. So I've got my hi-hats and an open hi-hat. So now I'm just going to play my hi-hats on top of that. Now, if I was singing it, I'd be like, right? So I'm just going to go overdub on top of that. I'm going to merge that MIDI on top of it.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Me too.
You know what? I want to do that one more time. I hit 3 on my big keyboard, by the way.
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Me too.
All right, so what we got?
Paradise with the palm trees are swaying, got you in the air, we got everybody sing me too. With the boats we always ripping, steady saying how we got to keep our minds drifting. Me too.
All right, so now I'm gonna save that, right? I like that. All right, and so what I can do is now let's do a save as main drums filling. Main drums fill. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that. And then because I wrote the MIDI, the tempo matches, and this is why I've told you some of you need to fix your click track. All I've got to do is a simple duplicate. Look at this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go over to my intro. I'm going to paste it here. And then I'm going to paste it here. And you know what? Let's go, let's paste it there. And then we'll have them drop out. And then let's paste it there. And we'll duplicate that. There we go. And then I'm not going to worry about going too much further because once I stop the tempo map, it's going to get awful. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for you to show you that it's going to sound horrible through here because I did not do a tempo map. Actually, unless they worked with the drum machine, then it might be all right. All right, so now I've got something like whoa, 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 whoa. going to do to this one, I'm going to take this. Remember how last time we had that verify effect? I'm going to take and use another verify effect and just do a crazy EQ. Little telephone, little, and look, use in playlist, right? And then render. Actually, I want that starting on, let's see. Let's do that. We're going to take all of these and audio suite them. There we go. All right, so now we've got our little drum track, but now check it out. What I'm going to do, what editing tool will glue all these together and write a new clip based on my name of this new track? What editing term did we do yesterday? And I said it's a great way if you got a singer messing up and you got to go do it and it glues them all back and they can't really tell you've been editing. Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Jesus. And I'm going to consolidate it. Watch this. Consolidate and check it out. If I go, before I do that, if I hold down Shift and get what's up front here, Shift and double click with my selector tool, then it's going to do it all the way from the front. And it renamed it Drums Comp 1. And now what I'm able to do is I can go in here and I can start doing some editing. Like maybe I don't want that right there, right? Maybe I just want, I'm going to hold down Option. Maybe I just want a closed hat there, right? And then maybe I don't want, the drum on beat 2 as we're starting. I only want it on beat 4. And then maybe we just kind of drop out some of the kick stuff, right? And so now I get this drum that's a little bit more building up, right? Right, and then I can even put it I can hold down Option and even put myself another one, right? And just kind of edit up. Or whatever. Cool. So by putting them all together as one, because if I left them alone as loops, if I edited one, they would all change, right? So I was able to make a loop, and by copying and pasting it and then consolidating it, now I'm able to go edit it so it doesn't sound like an entire drum loop. Does that make sense? All right, so I got some questions. Charity says, if I'm understanding correctly, I can use my MIDI keyboard to connect to Pro Tools to record the drum sounds. Yes, so I'm sending MIDI data from my keyboard and I'm triggering my plugins to play my drum sounds. That's exactly what we're doing. Great job. And then Sydney, just use the quick key next time, Shift Option 3. I'm kidding, that won't spell it. All right, so let's see, let's hit save and let's close that window. And now let's do this. All right, so now I've got my drums recorded in, but how many people really leave all their drums on the same track, right? I mean, nobody really does that, right? So check it out. And how many times do people like all of the drum sounds in one drum kit? Right, exactly. So check this out. What we're going to do is we're going to get them separated, keep them separated. You know why you always have to tell 90s jokes in pairs? Because it takes two to make a thing go right. Clarence is my biggest fan. All right, so check it out. Let's hit save. So we're gonna separate them. So check it out. Under my MIDI, right? This is a MIDI type of edit. I want to select or split the notes. I want to split the notes apart, right? So what I'm going to do is say, hey, yo, look at all the notes and then split them apart, cut them away from the original track, and make every pitch a new track. Because all my kicks will be one, all my snares will be another, my hats and my open hats. Watch this. So I hit apply, and it does exactly that. It cut all the notes, and it made an open hat, a snare, and a kick track. Oh, my dog. Right? So now all we got to do, check it out. Because they're all highlighted here, I can hold down Shift and Option. Remember, that's apply to my selected tracks. And I'm going to go put that same plugin on all of them. Stereo plugin, expand. And look, it loads up on all of them. And now what I can do, let's go name these real quick. So this is my open hat. This is my hat. This is my snare. This is my kick. Right, so now instead of going like, here's this one, and then here's this one, right? This is what grandma does, right? And they're like, here's this one, and they close this one, here's this one, right? So check it out. Just tell grandma, say, just open one, grandma, and then go up over to the track selector area and say, show me the one on the hat, show me the one on the snare, show me the one on the kick. And then check it out. We can listen right now. First, we got, we're going to go, you heard it a second ago. Now we're going to go put the kick drum on like an 808 hip hop kit, right? And then the snare, let's have something kind of cool and big and reverby, like maybe from the live kit. And then let's take the hat and let's use something kind of cool, tight and bright. And so we're going to use the same one for the open hat as well, since we're trying to make it real, right? Tight and bright. And now let's see what it sounds like. All right, so we kind of got some cool things going on now, right? And it got a better sounding drum. So what we're going to take all of these now, and let me show you this. Let's go over back to our remix guidelines. So check this out. They must be created with a MIDI instrument and then recorded as audio. All right, why do we need to record them as audio? Well, check this out. The more instruments I play, if I go check out my system usage, it's going to tell me what's happening with my memory. Look at this. I'm already using 59% of my RAM. And then all of the processing power on my 8 chips, right? So you've got a laptop, right? This is not going to hold as much information or guts, if you will, as a big desktop, right? So odds are you might get an error message saying, oh, I can't breathe, oh, I'm choking out, right? So the way you alleviate this is you stop using plugins, right? So the way we stop using this expand plugin is after we've messed around with it, and let's say after we've gone through here, let's just listen for a minute. So check this out. I can go N1 and hold down Shift to N2, and then look, I'll right click on my play until it's loop. And now, so I've got my kick drum. Maybe we'll see if I can turn up some decay. All right, so you can you might find more stuff on your snare or whatever. So play around, right? And just have fun with this. You're not going to mess anything up. hearing anything like that. But anyway, just have fun, play with your stuff. And then after you like the way the MIDI sounds, then we can commit it. So what I'll do to record that down as audio is we're going to commit it. So I'll take the grabber tool, and I'm going to grab the entire track, and let's just do all 4 of them at the same time. So I'm going to right click on them, and check this out. This is commit. And what commit does is it's going to go through and it's going to re-record as audio and render down all of this MIDI stuff. And then so it's going to consolidate. If I had them all separate, it would consolidate it as one big. Go ahead and commit the edit selection, right? And then if I had automation on it, I would go ahead and tell it to render it. But since I don't want to, because I'm not really in the mixing phase anyway. And if it had any kind of aux sends or whatever. And then here's the big important part. Do not delete the MIDI track. That will get you a big fat 0. We have to see the MIDI tracks. So simply hide them and make them inactive and have it insert these new tracks right after these last ones, and watch. It'll take all of these 4 drum tracks and turn them in as audio. All right, so I can take actually this drums comp track, and we can hide and make that inactive now. And actually, while we're here, let's do 3 fingers down. Let's do this. Let's call this, I'm going to make another memory location. Check this out. Function return, and I'm going to say, don't remember a marker. Don't remember a selection. Don't remember anything. I'm going to make you number 90. We're going to call this all tracks. And then only remember what tracks I'm showing and how big they are. All right. And then I'll hit OK. And now check it out. So number 90 comes up as all tracks. And then what I'll do is I'm going to say, here's all the drum tracks. So 3 fingers down. Matter of fact, let's go ahead. And then with this little color wheel out here, let's just go ahead and make all these in kind of that mustardy color. And then so now I'm going to hit function return again. We'll call these drums. This is going to be 91. Don't remember anything and only remember tracks and visible. All right. And then check this out. Now let's take off the drums and then put the vocals back. Where did it go? Background 1 and 2. There we go. And then this function return, we'll call this the Vox. And we got 90 and 91. Let's make this 92. Don't remember a marker or anything. Only which tracks are visible and how big they are. So now look, by doing this, I can quickly get to whatever tracks I want to look for. We got to redo these, huh? This should be bam, bam. That should be what all tracks look like. So right click. All right, so all tracks, or just my drums, or just my vocals. And now I don't have to go fool with these little dots anymore. Is that freaking cool or what? Can you imagine how much of clicking I would have to do when I was doing that stuff for the Dream Theater set? 198 tracks. I don't want to be fooling with that crap, right? So I go boom, 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 boom. And remember, I'm not making the boom sound. Sydney says, Walmart Radio played that song tonight. Really? The Take Me song? Really? Wow. That is too funny. Because they actually recorded that at Full Sail, if that's the song you're talking about, or maybe you're talking about a song that I was singing a second ago. Oh, It Takes Two. Yeah. Can I later bring back the instrument tracks that I converted to audio? Josh, of course I can. Don't be silly. This is Pro Tools. But yeah, totally. So what we can do, I would just go over here and I would click on them and make them active again, right? And then click on them, make them active. And then we got it. Whoops, make those active. Hide those. And that's how you do it. And then you could totally edit it. That's exactly what that's for. All right, so let's hit save. And so now we've got, oh, check it out. If I wanted to now as well, let's see. I could take, well, we got something here. We're going to need to get into our little secondary rhythm. We'll kind of add some cool little fun sounds here.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Now it doesn't sound, because of those drums and we rearranged them, it doesn't sound like there's so much on the offbeat now, does it? It's kind of interesting how when you write something around it, it kind of takes it. Remember how they had that real offbeat feel, and now it's kind of dissipated. It doesn't feel so awkward now. All right, so let's just go add some more instrument tracks. Let's get 3 more. And instead of clicking this mono button, I'm going to hold down Command and hit the down arrow. Sorry, that changed it to instrument tracks. Command and sideways will go to stereo. So let's get 3 more. And then 3 fingers down. This is going to be secondary rhythm. So we'll go shaker, second rhythm. I hate spelling rhythm. Command down. Shaker, maybe a snap or something. Second R H Y T, second rhythm, and then a loop. Okay. So let's go look at another plugin. All right. So Rashad says, let's see. Yeah, I helped put the Dream Theater show together in 2014, and believe it or not, it was a Full Sail grad was running the show, and they came back and took my class again and says, "Hey, can you help me do this?" And I was like, "Sure, be more than happy to." To piggy off Rashad and Josh's question, when I bring the MIDI back and edit it, then I'd have to delete the rendered audio tracks of the drums and re-render them. Correct. You're absolutely right. Unless you wanted some kind of cool effect where you've got one playing one way and then the other playing another way. You know, you can do that. All right, so let's look at boom. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-doom, boom, 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 ba-doom, boom, 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 boom. All right, so boom is a little bit weird in the sense that it's making a plug-in of an old school drum machine, right? So old school drum machines, you could hit those buttons or you could hold them down and they would play loops. So you've got both here. So if you're playing low down on the keyboard, you've got just the single hits. If you go way up top, you've got loops. All right. So we're going to go pick one factory preset. I'm sure it doesn't matter what it is. We'll do Super Schwager. All right. And then so what I'll do, let's find some kind of, there's a nice shaker sound. Let's take it and tune it up. And it speeds it up. All right, so here we go. And so I'm just going to kind of salt and pepper it a little bit. Now, here's a little thing of what makes my sequences a little bit different than other people's. After I lay down my drums, I'm going to turn off my input quantize. And unless something is really stupid sounding, now it kind of adds a little bit of realness to it. All right. So let's start in, I'll just go here. So I got 4 beats and then 2, 3, 4.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Take me to paradise.
All right, so I got that going on, right? And now I'm just going to hold down Option, and I'm just going to copy the thing over, and we'll go find some other kind of snappy sound. You know what? Check it out. So I'm going to take my grabber, all right, Command 4. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to go just drag these up to a different note. So I can fix these, you know, and if I want to, I can go right back here to slip mode so I don't fix them so perfectly. That one should be in the middle there, yeah. We go bop bop. We'll make that one ta-da. All right, cool. So I got that. We got that going on, and slip mode to the rescue, right? Woohoo! Keep your feel going on. So now let's. There we go.
Take me to paradise.
All right, so now we've got some little things in there, and then we just kind of sprinkle them through, and then maybe I'll take it from like the count off to the first verse. Yeah. And then to the second verse, to the third verse, and then I'll duplicate that. And that way it's got some sporadicness to it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Got to realize the direction you drift. Follow our vibes, no get caught up in the rift. I and I steady staying one with the earth. Nothing humbles more than a feeling of your worth.
So that's what I told you last time. Sometimes it's going to be a brilliant musical geniusal. You like that? It's a genius musical. Genius of musical. All right. Is there a way to get the sampled sound and use the grid to make the beat? If you recorded it as audio, yeah, right. You could do what I did here and then drag them apart and pop them there if you wanted to. Yeah, I certainly could. The other thing about this boom, I'm going to drag this down, and now check it out. Remember I told you it would, and I'm just holding my finger down and it's playing that loop. All right. So what I'm going to do is check it out. You can hit different notes and it'll change right on the beat. So do whatever. So I'm just going to go and put in some loops. All right, so now I've just got little different loops playing on, and it sounds like this now. We turn, click off. So we got that. And then honestly, what you're probably going to find is that you're going to want to take all of this stuff and get everything committed down as audio as well. Because even though we say you only have to do your drum tracks, if you start putting a lot of stuff on here, you're going to start losing the plug-in power. So we'll colorize. Let's check this out. Let's go ahead and recall this one. So I'm going to right click on the drums now. And that way all the drums come back here. And then when I go to all tracks, let's go ahead and put these new 3 tracks here, 3 fingers down. And then, you know what? Let's go ahead and move vocals up here. And now I'll right click and tell it to edit those out. So now I've got a couple memory locations that are not only putting the cursor where I want in the song, I'm using memory locations to actually trigger the tracks that I want to see. So that's kind of cool too. And as I'm doing this, we'll hit save, and then maybe I'll go into one more. Let's do a save as, and I'm going to have my drums editing now. And so what I might do is take my drums for a minute. I'm just going to shift click here, and then I can go up under my track and group them. And this will be my drums. Now, let me show you why I'm doing this, because it doesn't mention anything about a group here, right? Down at the end, we're going to have a minimum of 2 groups of these edit mix groups. And so this is one of the things that I like to do is group these drums, because then if I want to take where we had this loop playing for that sax solo. So let's say I want to take the sax from there to 1. And now that I've got that, see, now if I go to shuffle mode, right, and I shift click from my sax and I shift click up on my tempo section, right, I can copy all that. And now let's go over to verse 4, and let's paste that in. When we paste that in, it scoots verse 4 down, it keeps everything else, right? And so that's a cool little editing where I don't have to grab all my tracks, singly. I can, take them and do them like that. Let's grab from 2 to 3, and I'll copy those. And we'll go insert them in right at the beginning. So we'll go, and then put those in. Perfect. And so now I can save that. So the groups are really kind of cool, because then I can just, arrange the whole song, if I still want to think about that. Whoa, 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 whoa. pause for a second. Let's get any questions. Questions. Is there a way to make the sampled sound cool? What's the closest way to a man's heart? Oh, that would be Chuck Norris's fist. Chuck Norris's fist. Did y'all know that Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice? And he can divide by 0. Yep. All right, so we have made a couple secondary rhythms, made a loop, made some drum tracks going on. And let's see, we did a group. We made a group going on. We learned about MIDI and aux tracks working together, but realistically, we use instrument tracks. And then we're kind of going along from there. And, you know, when you look at it, that's it's really just a lot of repetitive things. I know we had to learn a lot of signal flow things, but what I mean by repetitive, it's the same sort of thing. You're still arming tracks. You're still utilizing the MIDI merge controls or not using them, cutting and copying and pasting. And what I really suggest to you is you sing to yourself. Go ahead and loop playback a couple times, sing to yourself, get an idea what you want to record, and then record over it. And that's really about it for you know, this week. We've got our main rhythm and our secondary rhythm, and you go through and the biggest thing though is you got to have your click track set up. And so if we gave you a note that was hey, you got to fix your click track a little bit, you're going to lose some points if you turn it in. The other thing that I may have forgotten to mention is it's going to make it harder to record your instruments too if your click track is not running. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for being here. We're going to be back next week on Monday, and it's possibly going to be a little bit later of a lecture. I'm going to try to get here at 1, but if 1:50 or 1 o'clock, 1:10 is around and I'm not here, log back on at 2 o'clock and that should be fine. I've got to go run to the doctor real quick, and I think I'll be back in time, but I just got to make sure. So I want to pop that out. Hey, but we've had a great class today. Holy moly, we've got a big classroom in here. Who we got? We've got Barbara, Charity, Chris, Clarence, Curtis, Hannah, Jesus, Jezreel, Jordan, Keenan, Leonard, Lacrice, Rashad, Rio, Rod, Raymond, Shauna, Stephen, Sydney, and Tyrone. Hey, thank y'all so much for being here today. We're going to have a help session in just a minute following this lecture here. And let's see, what can I say? We're going to have a great week. Let your instructor know if you've got any questions. If something isn't making sense, reach out to your instructor. Tell them where in the video you're having problems. So anyway, I'm Steve Kane with the Audio Workstations class. Peace out.